August 8, 1992. The music died. The stadium stopped being a venue. It became a cage for a rabid beast. That night, survival outweighed art. The 1992 tour burned $400,000 a day on logistics alone. That is a small country's budget. It was a military operation in rock and roll drag. The math had two variables. Metallica stood on one side. They were the hammer. They were the discipline. James Hetfield was a clockwork mechanism of flesh and denim. He took the stage to drive nails into the competition's coffin. Guns N' Roses stood on the other. They were a live grenade. Axl Rose was the pin. Chaos was his fuel. He arrived late. He trashed schedules. He spat on contracts. Promoters saw a mountain of cash. They mixed gasoline and matches in a single barrel. They sold tickets to the fire. They miscalculated. Chemistry demands a reaction. On August 8, 1992, in Montreal, the music died. The stadium stopped being a venue. It became a cage for a rabid beast. That night, survival outweighed art. The stage at Montreal's Olympic Stadium is a factory floor. In 1992, Metallica is heavy industry. Their tour is a conveyor belt turning electricity into aggression. James Hetfield is the machine operator. He plants his feet wide. He hammers his rhythm guitar into the concrete floor. The band's sound is a physical mass. Every note is a sledgehammer to the eardrums. This is a machine. The machine runs on a schedule. The machine demands precision. That morning, the logistics failed. The road crew got new orders. The pyrotechnics map changed. The old safety zones were erased. New boundaries were taped onto the black floor in colored strips. Under the stage lights, color dies. Only the darkness remains. The stagehands pulling miles of cable saw the trap. They knew the geometry of death. The band walked onto a minefield. The intro to Fade to Black began. Hetfield stepped forward. He reached for the crowd. He stood on a spot marked safe on the old map. On the new map, that spot was the mouth of a volcano. The man at the pyro console wore headphones. He watched the time code. He hit the button. A 12-foot pillar of magnesium erupted from the stage. Magnesium burns at 3,200 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the melting point of steel. The flash vaporized the oxygen in a 6-foot radius instantly. It was a napalm strike. Fire wrapped around the singer's left side. The flame peeled the skin off his arm. His eyebrows vanished. His hair became black ash. The ESP guitar hanging from his neck took the direct hit. The wood boiled. The lacquer blistered. The strings fused into the fretboard. The instrument saved James's internal organs. It was a shield. The vocals cut out. The microphone caught the sound of a body hitting the floor. 53,000 spectators roared in delight. The crowd saw the flash. The crowd saw the falling star. The people in the stands decided this was part of the show. They bought tickets for destruction. They got destruction. They cheered for a burning man. On stage, reality hit fast. Bassist Jason Newsted saw James's face. Animal terror filled his eyes. The shockwave knocked the breath out of Lars Ulrich. The drum beat broke. The kick drum went silent. Techs sprinted out of the dark. They doused Hetfield with water. The water hissed on his scorched skin. The road crew sliced the clothes off his body right there. The music died. The stadium filled with the stomp of boots and the bark of radio commands. They loaded Hetfield onto a stretcher. They hauled him into the service tunnel, into a world of cold lights and sterile needles. His stage went empty. Magnesium smoke hung over the platform like a gray cloud. The mic stand remained. The guitar with the charred neck lay on the floor. The crowd began to grasp the truth. The clapping stopped. A hum of doubt replaced the music. 53,000 people waited. The Metallica mechanism stalled. The air smelled of burnt insulation and scorched flesh. The silence was heavier than any guitar riff. That night, negligence cost skin. James paid for a stagehand's mistake with his own body. You don't need bandages. You need access to the evidence. Enter your plea. Hit the button or scan the code. We are opening the archives. Now, watch how Axl Rose turned a tragedy into a farce. Metallica vanished into the tunnel. 53,000 people stood alone in a concrete bowl. The sun set. The stadium sank into electric twilight. The air turned thick. It smelled of ozone, sweat, and burnt insulation. Silence in a stadium is a physical weight. It is pressure inside the skull. The crowd is a live battery. It is charged with adrenaline and fear. It needs a vent. It needs a lightning rod. It got only a vacuum. An official stepped to the mic. He promised a restart soon. He traded in hope. He lied. Behind the curtain, time ran on a different currency. The air conditioning hummed in the Guns N' Roses dressing room. There were white sofas and buckets of ice. Axl Rose sat in a chair. He knew about the disaster. He knew the stage smelled of char. The official story later cited vocal issues. Press releases called it an act of God. But the assistants carrying lemon tea saw the king. The king does not hurry. The king tests the endurance of his subjects. The guards at the door heard the talk. Managers spoke of penalties. They spoke of security. Axl looked at his reflection. He handed down a verdict. The energy is bad here. I need time to dial in. He took a beat. He stole 2 hours and 15 minutes from the crowd. In the hall, waiting became torture. Montreal's humidity hit the limit. People stood shoulder to shoulder. Dehydration and booze did the work. Fatigue turned into aggression. The security at the rail felt the shift. They saw a wolf pack. The eyes in the front row changed. The worship was gone. Only hunger remained. The band hit the stage in the dead of night. The lights cut through the eyes. The sound kicked in. The crowd exhaled. But the magic was dead. Axl Rose moved heavy. He worked at Half-Throttle. He protected his vocal cords. He protected himself from the bad energy. The gear returned the favor. The sound was filth. The monitors hissed with feedback. High frequencies sliced the ears. For a perfectionist like Axl, technical failure is a personal insult. He killed the songs midway. He chewed out the sound engineers right into the mic. He turned the concert into a public whipping of the staff. The fans paid for rock and roll. They got a tantrum. On the 9th song, Axl's fuse ran out. It was Civil War. Pure irony. A monitor shrieked again. Axl ripped out his earpiece. He walked to the edge of the stage. He stared into the blackness of the arena. He saw enemies. Thank you. You'll get your money back. We're out of here. That was the click of the detonator. Axl slammed the mic into the floor. The impact boomed through the speakers. He walked into the dark. The lights died. The stadium sat in total blackness. 2 hours of waiting, pain, and heat ended in zero. The crowd's energy sought an exit. It found it in destruction. The riot gear clicked into place. The darkness was the signal. 53,000 people in the concrete bowl did not go home. They went to war. The Olympic Stadium stopped being a venue. The crowd demanded a return on their investment. The currency of the night was violence. The sound of snapping plastic replaced the music. The first seat was ripped out by the roots. It flew toward the empty stage. That was the opening shot. The stands became artillery. A 1,000-pound lighting tower swayed and buckled under the weight of the mob. Police answered with tear gas. White chemical clouds mixed with black smoke. Security retreated. The crowd burst through the steel doors. Chaos spilled onto the streets of Montreal. The city caught fire. Windows on Sherbrooke Street turned into glass dust. Looters grabbed gear and clothes. That was their compensation. Police vans flipped onto their roofs. Wheels spun in the air. Fuel tanks ignited. The fire lit the faces of fans hauling trophies. The damage totaled $500,000. But history sent the real bill. 17 days later, Metallica hit the road again. James Hetfield took the stage in Phoenix. His left arm was a mummy of bandages. Under the gauze, his skin was raw meat. Nerve endings burned with every move. He could not hold the fretboard. A tech, John Marshall, took the guitar. James stood at the mic. He sang through the painkillers. He stood tall. He was a soldier. He returned and spat in the face of the fire. That night, Metallica became steel. Guns N' Roses chose rot. Their tour began to decay. Dates vanished from the calendar. Promoters wrote off millions in cancellations. The band cracked at the seams. Slash and Duff McKagan saw the news. They saw the burning cars. They knew the magic was dead. Axl Rose kept hunting for the perfect conditions. He found only isolation in hotel rooms. By the end of 1993 tour, Guns N' Roses was a ghost. Only the brand and the echo of scandals remained. They melted in the same fire they lit in Montreal. The 1992 tour was a laboratory test for survival. A single third-degree burn on Hetfield's arm is worth more than every platinum record on Axl's wall. That scar is the check James used to buy his audience's loyalty forever. Axl Rose walked away with the trademark and a dead phone. History erased the details of the fight. History remembered two facts: the smell of burnt flesh on a stage, and a flipped police van burning out in the heart of Montreal.